Hello, what is up guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. Today we have a couple of interesting, kind of fun, kind of weird stories to talk about, so let's just get into it. So the first story is luckily something kind of fun and kind of cool, I think you could say. This has to do with Metroid and the recently released Netflix exclusive Castlevania anime series. Now that came out around probably half a week or a week ago. And again, Netflix exclusive Castlevania series, been the talk of the town for the last couple of months. Full disclosure, I've yet to watch it, but I desperately want to check it out because I love old school Castlevania big time. Actually, I think I love almost all things Castlevania. The original 3 games on the NES I played quite a bit when I was a kid. I was a huge fan of Castlevania 1 and 2. I don't care what anyone says about Simon's Quest. That game is good. The internet is wrong. My hero, the angry video game nerd, is wrong. When it comes to Simon's Quest, I will absolutely stand by that game. And if I was going to be honest, even the Lords of Shadow games that came out for the PS3 and the 360 were really darn good games. I put a lot of time into those games and I was shocked how good they were. The first one was the better game though. So anyway, I love Castlevania, I like anime, and I would love to see the series come back as a game series, but instead we have this anime that's on Netflix, and it's like 4 25, 30-minute episodes, so it's basically like a full-length movie. And overall, it's been received really, really well, which has definitely been something that's good to see. It does my heart very, very well to see that people are enjoying this, the critics are receiving it well, and fans of the games are liking it. So that's something that I didn't quite expect. And through this, the producer of these series, whose name is Adi Shankar, if I'm pronouncing that right, apparently Adi has recently gone on record stating that he would like to possibly make a new anime series about Metroid, and that's what I wanted to talk about. His direct quote, at least the quote that's been circulating the internet, is really short and sweet. Basically, he says he wants to make a dark version of Metroid, something dark in the Metroid universe as an anime, and I thought this was kind of interesting, and of course a lot of people, probably 9-10 people, asked me what I thought about this and brought it up, and were tweeting it to me and were sending it to me on Facebook and just asking me what my thoughts about this are. And you know, I will tell you that initially my thoughts were like, well, that's fine, but I don't really know that I care or want it. It's not really what I think that the focus and the attention of Metroid should be, is to make like this anime series. That just seems like it should be far lower on the priority list for anything Metroid and for anything from Nintendo. That was my knee-jerk reaction when I saw this quote. However, I kind of stopped myself and I was like, well, wait a minute. We're getting 2 Metroid video games right now that are Samus games, not the Federation Force kind of stuff. These are Samus-centric Metroid games. We're getting a Prime 4, which we have no business having in this world, but we are getting it. And we're getting the 2D side-scrolling Metroid that a lot of us have wanted for so long. So suddenly it's like, well, since we're kind of living in like the brand new era, the resurrection of true Metroid games, it doesn't even hurt for them to put their time and attention and focus into an anime. So sure, why not do it? And I'll tell you, once I kind of had that epiphany and realization that like we're already living in a time with new Metroid games coming, there is no longer a dearth of Metroid, a dearth of Samus specifically, and I kind of just started to let myself really just get excited about the prospect of a Metroid anime. And a lot of folks have brought up the fact that a couple of years ago Nintendo said that they were looking into and liked the idea of using some of their IP and franchises in anime form. It got me thinking about the Smash Brothers E3 anime. Was that at E3? I think it was, where they had a Link and Pit and I believe Palutena all show up in a legit anime where they were fighting to promote the early hype of Smash for Wii U and for 3DS. And like, we all love that. I mean, everyone in the world who's a Nintendo fan or a Smash fan got really excited when we saw that. It was super cool to see an anime version of Link and Pit fighting like fisticuffs, sword-to-sword showdown. It was really, really cool and exciting, and it looked great. And you know, I kind of start to think of that when I think about Nintendo-specific properties happening in anime form. It really makes me wish that I had already seen the Castlevania anime by the time that I was making this video and this news came out, but again, I sadly haven't. What I hear is that it is very, very mature. I believe it's very gory, very bloody, very dark. I believe that they're swearing. I don't think that there's anything like sex or nudity in it. But as far as just being overly gory and bloody and also like having swearing and stuff, and hearing Adi Shankar talk about making a dark version of Metroid, it certainly piques my interest, man. I mean, I don't need like mature, bloody violent stuff to be interesting to me, but as a 36, almost 37-year-old man, I can certainly admit that I do still like the more mature themed stuff. And if you take a Nintendo franchise that kind of errs on the side of more mature, which, to be honest, Metroid is really the only one, we could close our eyes and envision a Zelda, or maybe even like a Star Fox property that kind of starts to err in the more teen or mature realm. But truly, it's Metroid. Metroid is really the only one that is quantifiably Nintendo's that could work, I think, in this setting. And so I start to think of, you know, apparently how it sounds that it's the direction that it sounds he took Castlevania in, I should say, if I could get my words out right. And I imagine that, and I apply that to Metroid in an anime form, and I think that it could totally work. And then you start to get into the idea of, well, would he adapt something that we've already seen? Would he take material or lore that's already been established in the games or through the Metroid manga that kind of exists? Would he talk about Samus's heritage and her parents being killed, and then she's raised by the Chozo alien race? Would he do something way completely separate from that? Would he try to do something similar? Don't freak out, guys. Would he try to do something similar to what Other M did, but hopefully execute it quite a bit better? I mean, there's all of these possibilities and more. Would he do something brand new? Would it be something where Nintendo would say it has to fit within canon? You can't do your own sort of side story spin-off thing. We absolutely want it to fit within the realm of something. Or maybe it would be something meant to be a tie-in. Imagine if Nintendo worked with Adi Shankar and whatever his studio is. I didn't look up his studio name. If they worked with him in his studio to do something that would release alongside Metroid Prime 4. That would be a tie-in, or like a prequel story that sets up, you know, what Samus has been doing between Metroid Prime 3 and Metroid Prime 4 to get us into the idea and get us prepared for what's going to happen in Prime 4. And it kind of reminds me of also what happened when Star Fox Zero was coming out, and Nintendo had that little 10 or 15 minute kind of short that got everyone really excited and prepared for Star Fox Zero. And maybe they could do something to a higher degree, you know, kind of commit more to the idea for Metroid and for Samus leading into Prime 4. But regardless, that's the details, that's the news. There actually isn't a lot of details. It's just that a successful Castlevania series just launched. Season 2 is getting prepped right now, and the same creator behind that is interested in doing a dark Metroid anime. And I do think that, considering that Metroid is finally upon us again and resurrected, and the Castlevania series seems to be a hit, I think that it kind of feels like a perfect marriage. So personally, as a Metroid superfan, I'd have to be all for it. Okay, now let's really quickly touch on this last story, because it's kind of ridiculous. It's not a big deal, you guys. Like, this isn't something that I think anyone needs to really have lost their minds over, and the whole premise and everything that played out through this situation, at the end of the day, is not important or relevant, but it's interesting, and it's kind of funny, and I thought it would be kind of just smart to probably just talk. I just wanted to talk about this. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to talk about this because it's ridiculous. So, there's a game coming out pretty soon, actually, I think next month, called Lawbreakers. And this game is a crazy, fast-paced, kind of Call of Duty meets Overwatch sort of competitive shooter that I think looks really cool, actually. And it is from the studio Boss Key Productions, and this studio was founded by and is headed by Cliff Bleszinski. And a lot of people know Cliff Bleszinski from his days working for Epic Games and also helping to create Gears of War, that whole series and franchise in that first game. I believe he worked only on Gears of Wars 1 and 2, maybe 3, not 100% sure, so don't quote me, but I know for sure that first game. He was instrumental in creating Gears of War. And full disclosure, I love Gears of War. The whole series, the whole franchise, the newest game is awesome. I'm a big Gears of War fan, and I'm a big Cliff Bleszinski fan. I follow him on Twitter. I think he's a smart, nice guy. He makes really quality stuff, and he's actually been pretty nice to Nintendo in the past, for what it's worth, you guys. But anyway, so this game, Lawbreakers, coming out pretty soon, only right now coming to PC and the PlayStation 4, not slated for Xbox One or the Switch. And what happened today was a quote that I believe happened actually in May, so I think that this interview and this discussion happened a couple months ago, but regardless, today is when this quote made the rounds. Somebody who works for Boss Key Productions lead designer Dan Nanny was quoted in discussing why the game isn't coming to the Nintendo Switch, And he talks about the amount of buttons on the controller, and it got everyone in a crazy tizzy. And, you know, Cliffy B and the Lawbreakers Twitter ended up responding, and it's just kind of funny. Anyway, so let me just get really quickly to the quote that Dan Nanny had to say about Lawbreakers on the Switch. There's a possibility for everything and anything in this world. I think the hardest part with the Switch is the controls. Look at the game that we have right now, and we just literally by the skin of our teeth put the entire game on the control pad that the PlayStation has. That means that we could probably make it work for the Xbox One in some way, right? But if you're looking at the Switch, the base controller that's on the unit, it doesn't have as many buttons. Come on, man. What a load of BS. What a ridiculous poppycock statement that he made about the Nintendo Switch and its controls. So, the real details here are that just the fallout was pretty intense. Everyone was losing their mind and making funny tweets. Some people making angry comments and statements about, oh my god, you idiots, you're lying, this is ridiculous, this isn't true, blah, 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 blah. And it was this whole big thing today. And when I first read it, I have to tell you guys, I'm going to be really honest. When I first read that and I thought about the situation, I was like, you know, I think that they're kind of just talking crap to the Nintendo Switch and to the Switch gamer and the Nintendo fan. And I think that they're trolling. I was like, it's either one of two things. They're trolling and talking smack to get a rise out of Nintendo fans because Nintendo fans can be sometimes a little bit kooky when it comes to stuff. Or they're just absolutely retarded and idiotic and can't count and don't know what they're talking about and actually think and don't understand the Switch controller and thinks that it doesn't have as many buttons. And I gotta tell you, when I finally had a chance to really sit down and read the actual quotes and get an idea of the story and what was happening here, I have to tell you that I don't actually think they're trolling. I really think that this person just completely misspoke and made a completely boneheaded, idiotic statement. So I will say that it sort of is a saving grace for them because it doesn't feel like it was malicious or meant to sort of rile people up. But at the same time, it also kind of exposes this, at least this one person as being kind of a buffoon. I don't want to say a moron, but I mean, what are you thinking, man? I mean, how do you not know how many buttons exist on the Switch controller? Because let's be honest, the Switch controller, whether it's the Pro controller or the Joy-Cons, have exactly as many buttons as the PS4 and the Xbox One controllers. Same face buttons, same analog sticks, same shoulder buttons, a plus, a minus, D-pad, everything you need is completely available on the Switch controllers. And it was just a ridiculous statement. And then, of course, the Lawbreakers Twitter, like I said before, even responded with this pretty funny little picture or meme that they created to basically acknowledge, yeah, it was a mess up, it was a goof up, it was a misstatement by one of our guys, and they're apologizing in a fun and funny way, which I have to appreciate. And, you know, whatever happened here, it's kind of ridiculous and silly. I don't think anyone needs to get too up in arms about it. I mean, I would love to have this game on the Switch, and as with most third-party titles, I think there would be a huge audience. And I think that Boss Key Productions would probably see a lot of money and a lot of high sales and success from bringing the game to the Switch. But at the end of the day, it might be something that visually would be too hard to get to run on the Switch. Probably couldn't get it at 60 frames per second, and it seems like a game that really would rely on that fast, smooth frame rate. It very much seems like a Twitch gameplay kind of game. So at the end of the day, there's not much more else to this story, you guys, and I'm not going to sit here and get mad and up in arms and be like, oh, you guys, Boss Key, you guys don't know, you're just being mean to Nintendo fans and you don't want to bring games to Switch and blah, blah, blah. I'm not really into doing that. I really think it was just like a one-and-done, one-off, stupid scenario. People say stupid things. He should have known better, but what are you gonna do? I just thought it was ridiculous and kind of funny because, like I said, everyone lost their minds, and it was just one of those things that just sometimes happens. So I think that's it for today. Just these two things I wanted to talk about really quickly because I thought they were kind of fun and funny. And, yeah, that's it, you know, Metroid anime, what do you guys think? Lawbreakers on the Switch, we ain't got no buttons, what do you guys think? I think that's pretty much it for today. So, thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.